Welcome to So Guided, a spiritual travel guide for the curious.
Join us as we dive into the mystical, high-vibe ways we can connect to the universe and ourselves. We are trying anything and everything woo-woo. Whatever the result, mind-blowing, unbelievable, or hilarious, we promise to share in truth.
Ready to explore? Suspend disbelief and let's discover the mysterious together. Hello and welcome to another episode of So Guided. I think you all know we've been on the hunt for a true healer. We wanted a shaman experience. We have found someone that is the real deal, you guys. This person is straight up magic. We both went, we both had a healing, and holy cow, we had completely different experiences. Let's just say Krista had unicorns and rainbows, and I went dark. It just shows you how different these experiences can go with the same person. Irregardless, major epiphanies on both. You got questions, so do we. Let's do this.
Hi, how are you?
Good. So we'll just start with, this is something funny we do. We do a little prayer before we start every podcast. We just did it and we had simultaneous, both of us separately had the chills.
Love it.
And I love when that happens. That's when you know something just happened.
Yeah. We get excited.
so if we sound
giddy.
We sound
because
giddy.
Our prayers.
We're happy about our little prayer. Anywho, hello.
Hi.
All right, what are we talking about today?
We are talking about shamans, the wide world of shaman and shamanism. And we have visited a shaman a couple times. This one woman that we are obsessed with, and we're going to tell you a little bit about it. Did some research. So we think this is such a interesting topic, and we hope we do it justice. But before we're going to jump right into a weekly woo-woo. You want to go?
Sure. So I'm sharing my sister's. And that is, she's going through a rough time. She has some things within her family that's a real hardship and achy on her heart. In the month of October, knows she's about to face a lot. And before she goes into it, she's trying to check herself. Now, Julie loves woo-woo, but isn't into it like us. In fact, she's kind of afraid of meditating. It creeps her out, the darkness and where her brain goes. But she will pray and ask for signs. And that's her version of woo. So she was having a particularly rough morning and she went for a run. That's her version of peace in the world. That's her church, if you will. And while she was running, just like, am I going to be okay? Can you show me a sign that I am okay and I got this? And she got in her car, and the next car that drove by had a license plate, Julie.
Oh,
and
that's
that's
cool.
her name. Yeah, and she said she had the goosebumps I just shared
that we
had. And she just knew, she's like, you couldn't tell me otherwise that wasn't my sign. And she needed it. It was just literally clear as day. Julie. And that's all the license plate was. But you don't hear just nameplates off there.
No, and right when you ask for a sign, oh my God, no coincidence. That's so good. Well, I'll share someone else's woo-woo too today. Good. So one of my best friends from college, Jody, she's been really high up in HR forever. And she recently got laid off, and which is obviously hard. She's been in this career for a very, very long time. So it's one of those things that kind of stops you in your tracks and you're like, oh my God, what just happened? I've been giving my all to this job for so long and have climbed the ladder, and now you're kind of in this space where you've never been. And she's a trooper and she's handling it, and she's been through a lot in her life and is always, comes up on the other side, but she's been, contemplating, and same thing. She went for a walk. She never has time to go for a walk. So she went for a walk and she was listening to a podcast. I'm not sure which one it was. And she said that when the podcast ended, all of a sudden So Guided came on because she's a big fan. Thank you, Jody. And she said it was one of those ones that she didn't think she had ever heard before, which is funny because she thought she had listened to all of them. And she said when she listened to it, it was actually one of your stories that you were sharing. And basically it just gave her one of those feelings that things are meant to be. And everything happens for a reason, and that she'll come up on the other side. And she said she felt like such a sign that just randomly came on. And the words that you shared just hit home. And I think one of the best parts of the story is that Jody texted this to me while you and I worked together planning the podcast. And as you guys know, it's been like hard to get back into season 2 because life is so busy. We've got so much on our plate, both of us, and like this is our passion and our project, but it's still, you know, we have to secure time. And so to get that message when we like had made time and we were doing it and we're working towards season, you know, getting it up and running, it was like one of those things that was a woo-woo for us too. Totally. We're like, oh my God, people, you know.
We need the encouragement.
Yes, we need the encouragement and the reminder that it was, you know, that it's giving people a sign. So
that makes me excited that it was our podcast.
It was. It made me so happy.
Cool.
Yeah, so good job. Thanks, Jody. So shamans. Shamans. So we were actually a little like confused on what a shaman even was. And I feel like in the past, even like we started doing this woo-woo stuff, we had like thought we were going to a shaman and it wasn't a shaman, or if it was like not what we were looking for. But over the course of these past couple of years, we did find a woman who is a shaman. And when I had met her, I was just like instantly drawn to her. And I was like, this woman is awesome. Her name is Amba, and she was just fantastic. And so I had done a shamanic healing with her. I told you about her. You did a shamanic healing, and now we've actually been to her a couple times each.
Yes.
So we're going to share that experience, but first wanted to kind of share what we've done some research on what a shaman actually is so we can speak to it. What I found a shaman is basically shamans, like they serve as intermediaries facilitating communication between the physical and spiritual worlds. And so what they do is they can actually go into like an altered state of consciousness, and they utilize tools such as crystals and drums, different types of energy healing to basically connect and help people like either heal, connect with their soul, or some shamans even take back other parts of the soul that may be lost for you. Does that make sense?
It totally does. I mean, it doesn't.
Right.
I think one of our biggest things was, what is she seeing when this is happening? Which that's kind of the crazy part as we started digging in. Not only are they doing this, but one of the biggest things they're doing is they are entering your consciousness during the healing.
Yeah. Well, and that's what it's like when we did the research, it was like almost hard to like comprehend, but like they basically enter like a trance state. So they go into a trance of sorts. They can do it through drumming, through dancing, through meditation, through their own spiritual connection. And then they're able to access the spiritual world for guidance, whether that's your consciousness, whether it's your guides, whether it's spirit animals. A lot of them work with like spirit animals to get like messages through animals, through nature. Many shamans believe that like all plants, all animals have their own spirit and their own guidance. They can access.
If it's alive, it has consciousness.
Right. And it can give you, it can provide wisdom. And so they like can talk to plants, talk to animals, and like bring on these messages like through, and they can do it through dreams. And it's like a lot of like different, like I said, tools are utilized, but it's also very individual to the shaman. And what's interesting, which I thought was like, there's different shamans throughout the world, and shamanism is one of like the oldest types of like connection to spirit, and it's been around for tens of thousands of years. And there's shamans in Siberia, in like the Amazon, in like Mexico, like they're all over the world, and each of these shaman practices like have like different connections to like the animals and plants of their land, which is so cool.
Yeah, it's very nature oriented.
Yes.
I love when stuff like this happens where we learn about something that's spread across the globe, started in a time where there's no communication. And yet, though they might like the polar bear in Siberia and the Amazon might be a tiger animal, they have very similar philosophies and core values, if you will, for the lack of a better term, of what like in all of them. And one of those things too are the worlds that they enter. Did you get into the worlds at all?
No, none of my research, but you did. You did some research on the world.
I was really curious because the worlds had been mentioned to me. So shamanism is actually working in 3 worlds, they say. That there are 3 worlds around us. One is the upper world, one's the middle world, and one's the lower world. And so when they're taking you in a healing, they're taking you kind of on a trance journey with them. So while you're there and you're kind of laying there, you're doing nothing, just so you know, while you're laying there, for people listening who don't know what we mean. Like you would go in for a massage or laying on a table and energy work's happening around you. And you end up kind of tripping a little bit along, with this person a little bit, I guess you'd say. But what they're doing is they're taking you to different worlds that are going to heal in different ways. So I'll tell you just the key notes on each of these worlds. Obviously, I don't know much about them, but I thought it was fascinating. So the upper world is a place that is light and bright. It's got a really lovely energy. It has a floaty and wispy feeling. It's ethereal. And when you first go to it and you're not familiar with the space, it could feel vague and like that there isn't substance to it. And as you get to know it, there's rich, rich layers of energy and bright light. And this is where you are supposed to get a perspective on greater things in life. This is where angels and guides and Jesus and the Mother Teresa and Buddha is in the upper world. So that makes sense. Yeah. Very wispy, light, bright, and a greater perspective. So lifting you out of this life. Here's the overall purpose of all your lives. So that's what the greater consciousness you're getting from the upper world. Middle world is basically where we are, but what we don't see is that there's multiple realities to the middle world. So we are middle world. It's hard. There's time and space. There's pain and suffering. This doesn't exist in the other worlds. And one of the greatest things a shaman could do in the middle world is they could see what we can't see that exists alongside us in the middle world, which I thought was so cool. So this is all about, when they go to bring you there, is waking you up to things you need to know and facing things head on. It seems to me it's more the dealing of pain and suffering and how we're meant to deal with it as a soul. That seems one of the healing purposes of being in the middle world. And they actually said of all the worlds, that's the hardest to journey to. So when they teach people to journey or go there, they go there last a lot because it's the hardest one to understand. And it's harder to understand because we're not seeing all the layers that actually exist around us.
Because we feel that we're just in the middle world. So we see it all, but we don't realize there's like more dimensions. And we only have the certain dimensions that we can see and feel.
Totally. And then there's the lower world. And what's so funny is like, you can't help but think about like, religion, and I was thinking lower world would be like hell. It's not at all. Actually, it sounds more like earth is the hell. Middle world sounds like the harder place. So the lower is deep, beautiful, earthy beauty, energy, deep healing, empowerment. It's pure, unspoiled nature. It's this like beautiful, pure version of earth. And like you think of Mother Gaia and things like this. And this is a place where a lot of times they connect to the power animals in this world and the spirit animals.
And the plants.
Yeah, and this place is for great and deep healing. And that's the purpose of journeying to this world. And now listen, I'm like, my curiosity is there on these subjects. That's all I got for you right now, but fascinating to me. And so each of these worlds brings a different level of healing, kind of makes sense of what you're hearing and what knowledge you're going to come out of your session with.
That's so interesting. So when we did these like shamanic healing / journeys, it definitely wasn't announced like, hey, I'm going to take you to this world or that world or this.
Nope.
I've actually, until right now, I've never heard this, but it makes sense to some of the things that we learned or that happened to us in our journeys that we may have gone to these certain worlds and that she was taking us there without like our knowledge, but she saw the need for us to go to one of those three and then do the healing.
So that triggered something for you just now. I could see it in your face, and it did for me when I read it. When I was in these sessions, I did not know I was in any of these worlds, like you said, but I do know now that I just read that.
Yes.
I now am like, oh, that's where I probably was. And it makes so much sense.
That is fascinating. So let's talk a little bit about our experience.
Yes, because I think
this is we'll be able to go back to the living. So just to set the stage first, like we mentioned this, it is like the one that we have done with like this lady who we are obsessed with. It was in like a very pretty room. It was on a table, like a massage table. So you were head down, you have a blanket on, fully clothed though, not like a massage. And she had crystals. She had sound healing on. She had drums. She put like at times crystals on like my body. She had some sage burning. And it basically, for me, it just started with her kind of standing over me and like feeling like each of my chakras and kind of having like her energy and feeling the energy. And it just seemed very relaxing, like almost like a Reiki session too, where you're kind of feeling energy move. She was going down like my spine and like feeling each part of my body. And at first you're just kind of like, I was like, what's going on? It is relaxing. You got the crystals, and you hear the music, but you're just kind of like, what's going on? But I slowly got like very, very relaxed. And then she had called in like my guides, my higher conscious, my angels, any spirit animals to like help her.
Did she say it out loud?
She did.
Okay.
Did
so
she for you?
No, I don't remember that at all.
Oh, really? Yeah. I think in the very beginning, almost like how she started with like a prayer, like where she was like, oh, like I'm calling in, like Carissa's, like she said my name. I think she said my full name. And then the first time, it was so magical where I basically kind of felt like I was in a trance, right? And so I was laying there, and she did take me on a journey. So she's walking through, it's almost like a meditation. I wouldn't say a journey. I thought of it as like a guided meditation per se.
Totally.
So she was like sharing like, we're going to go to this like tree, and and she's like, picture this tree, and we're going to go to a waterfall. And she's kind of walking me through these different visions. So I'm like envisioning this. And what I thought was so cool is like, she was like finding different parts on my body that may have like been holding different like emotion. And so if she would even like say out loud, like, oh, like you feel stuck here. Like you feel like you're holding shame in this area. And I'd be like, oh, that's interesting. I feel it, you know? And I'm like, oh, and then she would like literally like pull it out of my body. She would make like noises of like pulling out, and she did that to you too, right?
Coughing and she's truly ridding it, the energy.
Yeah, it's
and
like
you hear her coughing and like and expelling. Yeah. And then as she's doing it, she's grounding it back into the earth to be transmuted. She's big on the transmuting back into the earth to make it like good energy. So she's like pulling it out of your body, and you can like feel this like lightness. And one of the things that got Jenny and me got me so sold on her, and this is the first time, we'll share the second time, which is a little more detail, but why I was like, I came after this session, I was like, Jen, you have to go to this woman, she's amazing, is when I was in this like trance or this meditation, and she was talking about it, she told me to like, she's like, okay, there's an animal that's coming up to you. And everyone knows I talk about the deer, and I get these like deer, like I get these deer signs, and I always am picturing a deer as like my spirit animal. But I'm in my own head, and I'm not speaking during this. So like I'm quiet. So she's not asking me questions, and I'm answering. It's all in my head, and she's just like a guide. And so she's basically like walked towards this animal, and I walked towards it. And then she's like, okay, now you see the deer. And she's like, now you're holding the deer. And she could literally see in your head.
She saw in my head. She absolutely saw in my head. Like there is no way I didn't mention a deer. She hadn't listened to the podcast. There was no podcast at the time. It wasn't a real thing. Like, and like she saw that I saw a deer, and it was crazy. And I was just like, oh my God, she was in my head. And that's when, after doing this research, like they literally can like enter your state of consciousness.
Right.
And I had asked her like after the fact, I was like, how did you do that? Like I felt like you were in my head. And she's like, I was. She's like, I'm not now.
Right.
She's like, I'm not now. She's like, but I asked permission when I started, and like as part of this healing, she's like, I do enter your consciousness.
Totally.
So I can see and like feel, and like again, the multidimensional like ability that she has to get beyond whatever we perceive. She's like gotten beyond that and could see literally the deer in my head.
I can't. I mean, that is I think that was one of the key stories that started us being like, we need to know more about all of this stuff.
It was.
The idea that someone can actually see your thoughts. And this is multiple people that we know have gone to her, have experienced this.
Yes.
Where they're like, oh, I saw blah, blah, blah. Didn't it happen to Nick too?
Oh yeah, it happened to him too. Yeah.
And like, so she's called out exactly what's happening. It did happen in mine too, but you're just so specific too on your animal.
And it was so specific, and it was so like new to us at the time. It was like, it really was it blew our mind.
It also scares me a little too when I hear that, because I'm like, oh God, what if I go to a weird thought that she could like hear or see?
Yeah.
There's something that freaks me out a little bit, and I trust this person implicitly, but like that's kind of crazy that someone can do that.
I agree, and I think she has the ability to, but I think for her own, like she's such like a light being, like, and she's not going around doing it. You know what I'm saying?
For healing.
And it's all for
only
healing
in this moment, and it's for the purpose.
And it's for the purpose. It's for permission. She even said that. Like when I asked her, she's like, "Oh, I'm not anymore. Like I've closed it out." And she's like, doesn't want to be in our energy, and it was neat. So the second time, or the next time we did, which is more recent, we can get more into detail. I was like, for a little part of it, like not super into it. Like not like I wasn't into it. I wasn't getting into that trance. Like I wasn't falling deep into the meditation, but I was still laying there. My body wasn't doing anything different. I wasn't doing anything different. And she also saw that. Like she not called me out in a weird way. She's like, okay, I can tell that you're stuck. I know, I feel that you're not there. Yeah. And she's like, what? And she was like, almost like she was like basically diagnosing me and figuring out like what was wrong. And it was so neat because she was like, okay, okay. She's like, okay, I see it. She's like, you've got mud on you. Okay, I'm gonna get rid of the mud. And I could hear her like doing like pushing mud off of me. And it was so true. I felt like stuck. I wasn't getting into it. I was in my ego. I was totally thinking during this healing session, I'm like, okay, what are we gonna do? What am I gonna see? I have all these expectations. And she felt it. She knew it. She saw it. Whatever. She knew I was not. She was trying to guide me, and I was like unguidable, and I was thinking instead of like being guided. And she like.
That's amazing.
Stopped it. She was like, "Oh no, and she literally
another sign she's there." She's
right,
like,
exactly.
Yeah.
And that's like where I feel like the healing like started beginning for the second one was when she started like cleansing me, and I did. I felt legit mud on me. I felt like a wave of energy come off of me of like this like gunk that was like stopping me from being present. And it was amazing.
I love it. Yeah, and I saw you after this. You just looked like you had 50 massages, good sex, and were tripping balls.
Well, and
like you like came in the room and you're like,
well, it's funny. In this particular one, it was like very interesting. But what you had a different experience after this, or what was yours? Tell us a little bit about yours. I feel like I've been talking the whole time.
No, but this is one of those where we could say you won. You won on this session.
Yeah.
That being said, there's something to being healed. Mine's darker this time. The first one I will share was, and we had to tell the story of what happened. My first one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So the first time I went, and if I had told you the next day, which I actually did tell you guys, we recorded a podcast on it.
Yes.
This is hilarious.
This is wild.
So I shared in great detail. It was really beautiful, you guys. It was so in sync with what we were investigating season 1. I had seen her around the time we were looking into other things about the trauma of the shame circle and all that.
Yep.
And she literally called it out, and she had gone through my chakras. And for me, my journey, I could feel was walking me through my chakras. And through that, she was doing like a healing on a very deep level. I could feel it. She was using crystals, music, drums, like every toolkit in her book was happening in it. And it was warm, fuzzy, and beautiful.
And she was releasing it with like pulling it out, coughing it out, choking it out.
I felt like I was floating. It was the best feeling. I remember when I walked away, I saw someone and they said, well, what just happened to you? You're looking happy.
You were in the upper world.
I was in the upper world. 1,000,000,000%. That's so funny that you said it. I was wispy and floaty. It felt enlightened. Like you, when I had gotten to the spot in my chakras that was like my solar chakra, which you guys will hear on repeat is my chakra I always have to work on, is the solar chakra. She got stopped there and I was like, oh, no shock. And she said, oh gosh, so much shame, so much shame. And I remember she called out things I had heard that I was literally working through, and we thought it was amazing. And this was from beginning to end. I felt so good. I went and had to like go crawl into my bed and just lay there and enjoy how beautiful and ethereal I felt for hours.
That's amazing.
That was how healing it was. I felt so clean and pure when I was done, and I loved myself. And that's a part of your like solar chakra. And I remember my favorite part of that. You will not often hear me say I love myself or feel love for myself ever, sadly. But I don't know what she did. I left in love with who I am as a person, and I knew my soul was beautiful. And it was so cool, so cool. So I obviously shared this in great detail too.
I think we did. I think that was like 90. Yeah, it was a 90-minute. It was a 90-minute recording. It was one of our longest and most detailed because it was my first time too. So I went into the deer story. I went into like every nut and bolt of like the nitty gritty of this experience because it was a before and after too. It was like a true before and after.
So one thing is we try to keep authenticity. You can't repeat something, so we just never tried again. But anyway, so here's the point. We hit end on it. And we're like, damn, that was a good episode. We're like, that was amazing. We did that. That was so good. And then I went to listen to it, to send it to us, to edit it a couple days later. And it was in the history of our whole podcast, the only one. You hear us talking. Hello, we say a woo-woo. I talk about like the start of this. You just talk about the start of it. Then all of a sudden it glitches and words are like, like Charlie Brown words. Then nothing. Then Charlie Brown words and there's nothing. The entire recording is the 90-minute recording. It shows the time and there's nothing in it.
Isn't that
And we said, is she so magic that for some reason...
Oh my God, she didn't want us... she didn't want us recording this without her permission because we didn't ask permission. We were just like doing it during our little podcast.
And by the way, throwing her name around left and right.
Left and right, obsessing, being like all positive, but still all without permission. Without permission.
So that does bring us, and before because I have to say it. So before I even get into this story, so while you were with her In the last one, I actually love this about you. You're so inquisitive. You stayed after your session and asked her some questions.
Oh, yeah. I was like...
And what's really funny is you mentioned
this.
So
after this, my session, it was so amazing. And I felt like she was so in my head and it was so crazy. And I was just like, how do you do that? Like I asked her, like, how are you in the consciousness? Like, and she's like, oh, I am, but I step out. And I'm like, this is wild. And I'm like, how did you get like this? And she actually gave me her background, her life story. She had a near-death experience. And honestly, she is going to be our first guest.
She's our first guest.
And so, and so I'm not going to steal her story. It's way better hearing it from her than me trying to recap it. But I asked her, after hearing this incredible backstory, I asked if she could be a guest, and she agreed to it. And I had never been told that we had a podcast. Like, we're not like running around about this, especially like with these practitioners. We're like, whatever. But I felt I had to tell her. And when I was called to tell her, and she was so supportive and she was so like nice, and she's like, I'll be a guest, which was amazing, the best thing I ever heard. And then afterwards, again, since I'm so fangirling over her, I was like, I have to tell you, we had done a podcast and we recorded it, and we had actually dropped your name 1,000 times and we told you the whole story. And I'm like, and it's the only podcast that ever got deleted, and it didn't work. And I'm like, I feel like, we were making a joke, and I told her we made a joke that you must have deleted it because we didn't ask permission. Yeah. And she like lovingly like laughs and goes, ha ha ha. She's like, yeah, that's something my conscious would do. Like dead serious, like ha ha. Like she admitted that her conscious, not her, she's not aware of our podcast, but she's like, yeah, that's something my conscious would do. Yeah. And she said it, and we're like, oh my God, she 100% did it. So this magical woman legit deleted.
And I believe that to my core.
To my core.
To my core. You can't tell me otherwise.
No.
The other part of that, and why is it okay now? And do we feel like this is not getting deleted? You asked for permission. Second, we learned she had a spiritual name she preferred being used.
Yes.
And we had not used it. I'm not using either this time, just in case.
Well, I'll say her spiritual name, so we do say it, but her spiritual name is Amba.
Amba.
Which I wrote down was like, I think it's like Mother of Spirit. It's got a name. If I say it wrong, please don't delete. But we'll get it right when it comes. But like it is. I mean, it's a beautiful spiritual name, and that's exactly like she is. Like it's so perfect. So obviously, like that's just insane.
She's light and love. There's something so beautiful and maternal about her.
So much.
I don't know. Obviously, we're fangirling. We need to back it up because she shouldn't be too scared to talk to us after this. Anyway, to talk about the second time.
So my second time. So I got on the table, so I'll jump in. So I got on the table, I was laying there, and I had that conversation after, so this is all previous. And so I'm just laying there getting ready for healing, and she's kind of going down, and she's like feeling different parts of me, and she did start with like feeling different parts, and this was kind of interesting. She stopped on like the small of like my back, and she asked me, she's like, I have a question. She's like, I don't usually ask this, but I do have to ask you a question. Yeah. I can't remember. She asked like, she's like, you're married, and like, you're like, she didn't say sexually active, because that sounds so weird, but she's like, you're intimate with your husband, I guess. And I was like, yeah. And she's like, okay. She's like, I don't want to make you feel bad. She's like, but I'm feeling his energy stuck inside of you. And I'm like, oh, okay. And she's like, I want only your energy there. And she's like, you can take on anxiety of other people. She's like, you can take on moods of other people. And she's like, and I feel his energy stuck inside of you, and I'd like to release that. And I was like, okay. I'm like, yeah, get it out. I'm like, what is this? And so she like stayed there, and she did some coughing, some like choking, and like some pulling of energy. And it wasn't even like necessarily like, I don't even know like what she was doing, but she could feel my husband's energy, which makes kind of like sense. Which I've never thought of in a million years, but when you're like having like sex with somebody, obviously like it's a freaking intimate experience, but you're getting energy pumped inside of you. You know what I'm saying? I mean, whatever. You are. But you are.
Yes, yeah.
And so it was so interesting. And so like whatever she was feeling, she was like, this isn't yours, and I want it out. I don't want his energy stuck inside of you, especially when she's doing healing. So she basically started there by ensuring that my energy was me while she was doing this, not someone else's stuck inside of me. And it made me think of you.
Right.
With some, like, obviously, like, the terrible things that have happened, and how anybody that's had, like, a sexual experience, like, you do want to make sure that you're like,
clean.
You're aware and cleansing of other people.
How come no one ever talks about this? When you came out, that was such an aha moment that we heard that for all levels of it, the good and the bad, but you are sharing an exchange of energy. So imagine, in particular, not having a choice in it, and someone who has an assertive manner, and, like, that actually really resonated with me as far as like cleansing even not just this life but other lives based on like the crazy crap that's come out from all the people. Like that really stuck with me as like gosh. But like that even like, so back to people that you love, like, so they could have had a good day and that energy exchange, or they could have had a bad day at work. That energy is with you.
Right.
So that's wild to me. And so how do we get rid of it, I wonder? This is totally different from that story, but like, I mean, I wonder just how we do it.
She told me, because I asked, I actually asked, because I was like afterwards, again, when I was having like my freaking reporting, like Discovery, I asked like how to get like rid of other people's energy, because just like you said, it could be a bad day, and so the bad day is stuck in you, even if it's gone from them. Like the energy is still staying there. And so she did say, especially because it's like sexual energy, she's like, you just have to like ensure that there's like joy, and also like joy of like yourself. And so it was, I'm like, oh, that's very interesting. It was like I would pretend it's an awkward conversation. It actually was not awkward at all. So to pretend it was awkward, it wasn't. She's so not awkward, and it was fine. But it was basically like one of those things that if you're having someone who's whatever giving you energy, like you have to remember that you yourself can have like a positive experience sexually without anybody there. That's right. You know? And so I was like, okay. And not to say that you have to do that, but I was like, she did say
that was one
instilling
of the
joy was like on your own.
I like it.
So I was like, okay, that's fine.
I need you to get to the part of the story where you got to have a spirit animal join you.
So basically we do this, but I'm still stuck, and I'm in my ego, like I said. So she had to clear the mud, because I was like not following her. And then I finally get into it, which again, it took longer than the last time. So I was a little like, not bummed, but feeling like
waste of time.
I felt like it was a waste of time. And then, but all of a sudden we went to like a crystal castle, and I was experiencing a crystal. And again,
pause. So nothing like this happened to me. So when you went to a crystal palace, did she bring you to it, or is this your imagination?
No, it's her bringing me to it. She's like, you're going. First of all, I think we went
to a crystal palace.
We went to a garden, and we saw a flower, and so I saw like a field of flowers, and I always pick rose, and so I did pick rose. She knew I picked roses, so she's like, okay, pick a rose. I didn't say it out loud. She knew that, so I continued on. Then she's like, through the garden there was like a door, so I went through the door, and the door is a crystal palace, and in this palace, like you open the door, and again, what kind of crystal is it? What kind of door is it? I don't remember what I ended up picking at this time, but I went through, walked into the castle. She did bring me to a waterfall, and like with the waterfall, like an animal came up, and I actually don't even think, I didn't this time, she didn't say what animal it was. She didn't ask she never asked, but she didn't say picture an animal. At this time, she said a unicorn came up to me. And I was like, oh, perfect. It was super easy to imagine. So a unicorn was there, and she did say like a unicorn comes up, like what is the unicorn saying? The unicorn is with you. He's been with you through like every lifetime, and he's staying with you. And then she had me basically like ask some questions. So, questions about like, they have a message for you. I think I got a message. I think I wrote it down. Spread love. That's what it was. I did write down. She's like, it was a message of like spread love, which again, I love that message. It's not one that where I would automatically think of on my own, but like that was the message from the unicorn. And then it had me, and then she had me like fly up. So I feel like that's very much the ethereal, like again, upper world.
And Crystal Palaces is upper world.
Oh, that's so interesting. Yeah. Oh yeah. So that was, and I honestly feel like I might have been in like the middle world when she was doing like the energy
mud
stuff
and
the mud. That's what
I thought that too.
Right? Middle world. So she brought me up into like the upper world, and I was flying with the unicorn. And then she kind of brought me back, and she had released the mud off of me. She had messages of spread love. She had gotten other people's energy out of me. Other people just being just my husband. But my husband. She's got my husband's energy out of me, and like she had basically, again, she had found some areas where I needed like some extra attention. She had pulled away some shame. She had added some like positivity. All these things.
A sprinkle of this.
And so when I finished, I was feeling like great. And so I think how I even started like my impromptu like question asking was the unicorn like struck me so much. Because I was like, I love unicorns. I've always loved unicorns. And I was like, oh. And so I asked her afterwards, because last time she said an animal, I picked my deer, and she saw it. But I was like, oh, how come you picked like a unicorn? Like, it was so interesting. And she's like, oh, I've seen a unicorn with you since you've walked in the room. She's like, you have unicorn energy. She's like, you always have a unicorn with you. And I was like, oh my God. And I'm like, and so of course I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, what? Like, what's a unicorn energy? She's like, what is it? She's like, well, it's very rare. So I felt very special. Yes. She's like, it's very rare, but it's like, it means like innocence and joy. And she's like, I think I've only seen like 2 unicorns, like with people, like her whole like career. And so she basically said
this is like your dream comment, by the way.
Oh my God, it's amazing.
Like, tell me I'm special. Tell me no one had something.
And a freaking unicorn. So again, truth be told, it was so like amazing, but also hilarious and a tad bit ridiculous, like this unicorn energy. Yep. So now, anytime something is so ridiculous,
wait. Could you take away the word ridiculous? Let's just say it's an out there thought.
It's a very out
that
there.
we are actually believing.
But we buy into wholeheartedly.
Yes,
okay, when there's something is so like out there, but we're still like 100% bought in, it's unicorn status. Because this is 100% unicorn status. In fact, I have like a unicorn with me like right now, just chilling next to me, like because that's what I carry is a unicorn energy. My unicorn spirit animal is amazing. But again, 100% buy it, and that's like another thing like where she has access to these other worlds and these other beings and these other like light beings in the earth and everything. Yeah. So unicorn status, it was amazing. I felt great afterwards.
By the way, congrats. I have reading envy. You got it.
Finally.
I'm so jealous. I want a unicorn.
Oh my God,
I want a unicorn. That's so cool.
Is that cool?
But you know what I love about this? Your first and second experience, so different. You heard new things happen. It was a different journey. Even what your mind saw was different. I think that's so cool. Like in that you met your unicorn friend. Do we name our unicorn?
No, I don't know.
I feel like unicorn needs a name.
I know.
We'll have to meditate on that at some point. Yeah. What's so funny about that is like we had our sessions pretty close together, right?
But I came back like high as a kite off my unicorn.
And I'm like shaking violently, like vomiting in a bed.
Yeah, you were not doing well afterwards. Yeah.
So I couldn't have had a more different experience. Mine was the opposite. You literally had unicorns and rainbows.
Yeah, I did.
Like you
unicorns,
flew.
crystals, waterfalls. Yeah.
Which I'm happy. You needed that. And that you well-deserved, girlfriend. I guess on my end, one of the things that's important is I feel like last year when we were going through all this, I really feel like there was something that was really deep and dark, and I feel like I had made it through it. I had talked a lot about this being the transformative lifetime. I didn't just talk, but the healers we went to would say, this is your lifetime to heal, and you're doing it, good girl, and blah, blah, blah. I think I wrongfully kind of feel like I'm further along in healing than I thought. Fair. And I think I kind of got hit in the face with that in this healing, is that on that particular day, I realized, oh my God, I have so far to go, and I shouldn't be out there preaching like, I walked through it, I cried for a couple days, we're good now. But this is like real. So anyway, the timing of mine might have thrown it off, but mine was like a dark one. So I had just gotten in a huge fight with someone I loved, and she had known that. And so we kind of concentrated on it.
Yeah.
And I will just share that it was my mom. And when it relates to a parent, it relates to something very deep inside of you.
Yep.
So she brought up from the start, I could tell right now before we start, my intention is to go do some inner child work.
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
So I already knew this was about to be different than my other one, which was very light and love and feeling hippy dippy and happy when I was done. This was frustrating, for the lack of a better word. I was absolutely middle world. I was dark. I was stuck. I was in mud. I was in darkness.
Yeah.
I actually felt like yucky and dark thoughts the whole time. She kept trying to bring me to points in my life, and I couldn't connect with my inner self.
And she could tell you couldn't?
And she could tell. She'd be like, walk towards your, and she went through different, like, I have to remember because I wrote down the ages. She took me into the womb.
All right.
And so I wrote them down. Womb, 3-year-old me, 8-year-old me, and 16-year-old me. The womb me was like, she worked through it, and there was a point where I felt that there had been like some beauty and some release, and I can imagine. And I do think there was some prompting of what I was saying when I think about it on that one. And I don't remember if it was 3 or 8, but girl, she could not move on. And she was having such a hard time. I think it was like even rare for her that if I got a post wrap-up interview like you did, I bet I would have heard that this doesn't happen to her very often. She literally couldn't keep going on. And then
she was stuck because you were stuck?
She was stuck with me. And I was stuck. And it was so dark. I was just not moving on. And like when I was actually done with it, I actually was feeling physically ill when I was done. I felt like I had taken like bad medicine or like bad mushroom trip kind of situation, like where it was bad. I couldn't walk straight. I didn't feel good. And when I was writing about it, I was like, this isn't what I expected. It was so dark. And one of my most sad things was how sad, like I was really left with such an unnerving feeling of not connecting with my inner child, her, this sweet version, innocent version of myself I couldn't love or connect with. I feel really sad telling you that right now. It feels really sad, but it also makes sense. In some ways, I'm dealing with something with my mom and like needing to be validated and loved and held and be seen, felt, and heard by someone who wasn't at that moment.
Right.
So anyway, so this went on so long that my session went longer than it was supposed to, and she had someone next. And she's the kind of person that would have finished me all the way to the end. She would
Yeah.
have spent hours if she could.
Yeah.
She literally said, I am so sorry. I have to stop here. And she knew and I knew we were not done. We had not gone to completion.
Oh.
And I was left walking out of there stumbling and like crazy. Like my eyes were wonky and cross-eyed. And I didn't feel right. You saw me shortly there.
Look good, yeah.
I was ill. So I had to take time to work through it. I couldn't even like go function in the world. So I journaled. And when I was journaling, like a really crazy thing happened, as you know.
This is amazing.
This is really crazy. So we've talked about stream of consciousness writing.
Yep.
And that could be a way to get divine messages. So sometimes you write, it's your journal, it's I'm telling the story of my day. You kind of think in more ego, whatever. And every once in a while when you write, it goes stream of consciousness. And it's less your ego even involved and it's something else and it's just free flowing. But for some reason, I wrote, and I'm going to actually, it's embarrassing, but I'm going to post a picture of it because it's so wild the way I wrote it.
Yeah.
So normally you'd write in a linear fashion, kind of like a paragraph or whatever. But for whatever reason, I just started spitting out words about myself I've heard negatively, whether it was from my family members or growing up or from like peers or whatever. Like every yucky word I ever heard about myself. And then I wrote, and they were all negative words. And there were a million spaces between them. And I had thought to myself, you know what? I'm going to make Krista come burn this with me later. We're going to burn these ugly words.
Yeah.
And that was kind of what my ego thought I was going to do with that. And I kept writing. And then at the end I wrote, please show me the way. Like, what is this about? What is this thing? And I weirdly went back to the page and on repeat in all the spaces wrote the word her. And I knew that I wasn't writing this word. And I felt like someone had taken over my pen. And in between all these was her. And what the her was starting to do inside of me was say, this isn't mine.
Yes.
Her was a not me word. Hers, not mine.
Right.
And at the very end, the words came out, break the chain. These words are not mine.
Oh,
they're hers. And I don't know exactly what that means other than that it felt multi-tiered, that hers was many women and multiple women, not me singularly. And I was taking on the ache of what I saw. It was like even how other women have said negative things about me, that even it was their reflection of themselves. And that every of these words that I held in me my lifetime, they're hers, not mine. And it felt a greater hers than a singular hers.
Oh, definitely.
Okay, and then you know the next part about this. This is wild. So her, it's everywhere. And we looked at this and we're like, I told you the story. Oh, and on the top of the page, I wrote in caps, misunderstood. And I misunderstood that it was mine to take and my words to take on. And I'm also misunderstood that I am these things in the world. It meant so many things that my words aren't clearing it up enough. So
I think you're doing a great job.
Great.
Actually, I think it's really good.
Despite feeling ill and sick, once I did this, I felt that feeling that she probably would have ended if my session kept going. And this is the crazy part that links back to the deleted episode. I had the strangest sense that she was facilitating this from a distance when I journaled.
Well, remember?
Yes. Wait, this is unicorn status, the theory we're going to say next. Go ahead.
No, you say it.
Okay.
You're so good. You're so good.
So I'm actually journaling this while you started your session.
Yeah.
And we later said, because this was about a 15-minute journaling, and I then felt healed and I moved on and I did other things. That was exactly about the time period of Chris's session that she felt nothing was happening with her. And then all of a sudden she felt she was mentally with her.
Yes.
And she hadn't been for a little bit.
Yes.
So we literally, our unicorn status is that we think she remotely was like, I got to finish this girl up because she was left a wreck.
Yes. Because I was in my ego for the first 15 minutes and I was like, what's going on? This is like, I'm like, am I going to get like a dupe here? Like, I'm like, okay. And she's like, just feeling my body. And I'm like, okay. Like I said, I was like, okay, what's happening?
Yes.
I'm not into this. And I 100% think she had left the room. Her conscious and like gone to heal you during my time.
Yeah. All right. So this is this unicorn status. You're going to hear that term and we are dying laughing when we figure it out. Anywho, this is so cool. But then to just send it home more, when you have something like this, you know it's real, feels real. You looked at my page and were like, oh, this is divine because this is weird. Even the way I wrote it. We're looking at it right now. It's so weird. It's weird in the best way. Weird with the good juju.
Wonderful weird.
Wonderful weird. Anywho, so we walk away from this, and that's pretty potent. One of the next things we go to, a woman is talking to us when we were doing something. I don't remember what we were up to. And the person said, instead of history, her story. And we were like, ha ha ha, funny, but not enough to be something.
But still, we thought it was.
But it was still something.
We
liked it. Her story, when like this thing with her.
Yeah.
And I wrote it all lowercase. Something about that when it's repeated to me in the same. So the next morning, I get a text from someone I love that says, you have to hear this new song by Jake. Her. That's the name of the song. Her, in lowercase. Just, that's the next text message on my phone.
Out of nowhere.
Yeah.
With you have to hear the song Her.
Her.
Which we've never, like.
And no one has heard the story, by the way, besides Chris.
Right.
No one.
Mind blown.
Yeah, mind blown. And,
mind blown.
And this is, a weekend that you and I are up to a whole bunch of stuff, so we're away. So this is, a message from Brian. Actually, came in from Brian, but my son sent it through his phone because we share music. So it was actually Oliver who sent that text.
Interesting.
He had just heard it and he just said it, and we're very, very connected. Anyway, that was no doubt hello, send it home. But also during this time, I had not lived at home. We had kind of had a weird in-between living situation, and I borrowed a suitcase from my sister-in-law. And it wasn't mine, so I had her luggage tags in her suitcase. And we go through our weekend, and funny enough, there's quite a few times her comes up, and we're laughing
obviously.
every time. Right. I'm like, okay, we get it, universe, thank you. So we get home, it's really late at night. Nobody's even up in the house when I get home, and I have the suitcase at the top of the stairs. I go to get ice water, and I saw the suitcase that I brought on the trip at the top of the stairs, and I hadn't seen that angle, and I see the luggage tag, and it says her on it, as in him and her. Yeah. I think there must be a matching one that Greg has. It's him. And I just went, are you kidding me? Because not only is it say her, but how the symbolism of someone else's baggage. It's her baggage, not mine.
Yes. Oh my God. I didn't know the baggage.
I totally did.
Oh my God.
So of course I sent that text to wrap it up. So anyhow, I really feel like this all felt orchestrated and such a good version of hey, we go into these healings hoping to be warm fuzzy and get good vibes. I felt ill. I wanted my money back. I felt upset about it.
Yeah.
I know enough on our journey to know that something was coming out of it, but it still feels yucky and awful. And honestly, I've worked with this message so much that ever since the day this happened, I am actively working on releasing the names that I've held into my heart that people have said that aren't mine to keep. They're not mine. And I got that from her. And I honestly think that she finished that story on this paper. Anyhow, unicorn status, we're talking some weird stuff, but
no,
crazy.
it's amazing.
Crazy.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it goes to show, like we always do, these things have different outcomes and different, you don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
And you have to release expectations. But I think the neat thing about the shaman, I think one of the things that has drawn us, because I don't think we've repeated people almost ever.
No,
except for her, we just get such a different experience, and just because we feel like there is healing. So I think that even in the happiness and sometimes the euphoria, there is healing to be had, and in the darkness. So I feel like with this, especially the shaman, it kind of goes both ways.
I agree. And I think to be open to either, of course, we don't want the negative, but when you do, there's something to it, but also awesome in finding your unicorn friend.
Right.
Giving us our unicorn friend to talk about now.
And I think what the shaman has done for me too is it's connected me more to some of the plants and the animals and the earth.
Totally.
We're always, I think, angels and woo-woo and spirit guides. And I feel like there's a lot of message and a lot of impact that you can have just around us. And I feel like this, Amba, this shaman, she is so connected to plants and animals and what can be done and learned from earth, that I feel like that has definitely opened my eyes and been something really beautiful. I feel like I've learned from the shaman experience.
I agree. And it also makes me feel like we just scratched the surface. This was a healing we did. There's a lot behind it, and I actually want to learn more. I want to know more about those worlds.
Me too.
Also, they have 4 corners that they bring into it, and the air, the wind, and
yes.
So there's a lot more to dive into. I think for today, we couldn't recommend a shaman healing enough.
All right. Well, thanks everybody. Talk soon. Like the show? We love your support. Right now, we're doing an awesome giveaway. Leave us a review on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen. Screenshot the review and send it to hello@soguided.com or DM us on Instagram at SoGuidedPodcast. You'll be entered to win a basket of our favorite woo-woo goodies, crystals, cacao, and all the high vibe goodies we love. Thank you for listening. We've loved being your spiritual travel guides and hope this made you feel more connected. Please leave a review on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast player. Your reviews help us create the guide that you are looking for. We'd also love to hear your stories.
You could follow and share your experiences with us on Instagram at So Guided Podcast. Your story might just be our next weekly woo-woo. Join us again next week as we continue to dig deeper into the universe. And remember, stay curious, ask the questions. You are so guided.